when we're clear, when we have great boundaries, when we're confident about who we are, then we can show up with just really high levels of graciousness.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the KTS Success Factor podcast for women, where we talk about challenges senior female leaders face in being happy and successful at work. I'm your host, Dr. Sarah E. Brown. My guest today is Nancy Jonker, Ph.D. She has over 31 years of experience in the leadership transformation space and has mentored, get this, over 220 leaders on 4 different continents. She too has a podcast called Audacious Leaders Podcast, and she is the founder of Audacious Leaders M.O. This is a program that catapults leaders to new heights and enables them to seize opportunities through leveraging the 4 signature strengths of their team. I am so happy to have her here to talk to us about the art of audacious leadership. Welcome, Nancy.
Thank you so much, Sarah. It's a pleasure to be here.
Oh, it's great to have you. So tell me, I know that you're working in the leadership space in general, and my audience is primarily female leaders. So we're going to extrapolate this a bit as you see fit. But what is it that you see as the biggest challenge of leaders in general that are facing in business before they work with you, of course?
Right. So in my experience, leaders and business owners tend to be overworked and overwhelmed. They're not getting the best and highest performance from their teams. And then they're really not able to have the quality of life that they want because of the overwork and overwhelm. And again, we can see that just kind of go round and round. They don't see a way out because what they've done in the past, which is usually trying harder and working more, is no longer working. And so I think those are the big issues. There's also, I think, some uncertainty about how to engage the next generation of leaders. And there are, as you know, lots of complaints about millennials and so on, but often I think there's an understanding of what drives them. And so getting everyone to work together and have this shared vision and then ways of working that complement one another, I think those are some of the bigger challenges.
Are there certain symptoms or certain things that you see that in the workplace or that others can see that indicate that this is a problem?
Yes. Well, what I get concerned about is when I get emails from people and it's 4 a.m. or 2 a.m., something like that. So the work is creeping into their sleep time and their health is not getting managed in the way that they really want to anymore. They've let nutrition go, other health habits. There is that sense of being frazzled, doing the next urgent thing as opposed to really having some time to be able to think about and be strategic about what their next action steps will be. And so they feel like they're working really, really hard, but they don't always have that accompanying sense of progress and accomplishment.
If they recognize a problem, or even if they don't recognize the problem, what do you see as the biggest mistake they make before they start working with you?
Well, I think I would break them down into 3 different mistakes. The first is that they are often resorting to the try harder and work more. And I think we tend to learn that as kids, right? And when we're in school and so on, if things aren't working the way we want them to, we try harder, but we do more of the same thing. The second thing is oftentimes we don't understand how we are co-creating the reality that we're experiencing, right? We might see the circumstances around us or the people who aren't delivering, the conflicts that are going on, and we don't see how our own mindset, our own actions, our own expectations actually are fostering those and continuing them. Peter Senge, author of The 5th Discipline, he talks about the implicit norm that's getting carried out. And so oftentimes there's just not that level of awareness. And then the third mistake, I think, is not having trusted advisors who have enough perspective and distance that help you come out of the weeds of what needs to be done in a day-to-day business, helps you reflect and really connect to the vision.
Very interesting. So if somebody is seeing themselves in this conversation, they want to learn more about this challenge now, is there a resource that you would suggest that they go access or find to get more into what this challenge is really all about and find out if they see themselves in it?
Yeah, so one of my favorite things to direct people to is something, it's a leadership quiz called 10 Hidden Areas of Growth for Top Leaders. And really it runs the gamut of different aspects about vision and health habits and kind of that whole range of things. And that is available at quizleaders.com.
So this is something you put together.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Cool. Okay, so quizleaders.com. Okay, that's very interesting. In that vein, is there a free resource you can share with the female leaders in my audience to help them do something about it now?
Yes. And of course, that's always the question, right? We don't want just information that's going to help us like somewhere down the road. We want information that's going to lead to change today. Mm-hmm. And so I'm just going to give a little bit of context for this, because I'm not even sure you know this, Sarah, but a couple years ago, I wrote a book for women called Get Your Power On. Oh. And it's a woman's guide to becoming confident and effective in business, life, and relationships. And that's not always relevant to the conversation, but I think it is relevant to this one. And in there, I talk about the 3 important arts: the art of knowing who you are, knowing your strengths, knowing your full capacity, really embracing the full range of who we are. For example, we're determined and playful, or we're strong and vulnerable. We're courageous and confident, right? Because sometimes those can seem like opposites, but sometimes it's because confidence isn't always at that steady level that we need the courage. Mm-hmm. And of course, I have a program called Audacious Leaders, so I'm all about leading with that courage. Mm-hmm. So the art of knowing who we are, really understanding our strengths, the art of staying connected to who we are, which mm-hmm. is all about being grounded and able to be in the present moment. And then the art of honoring who we are. Mm-hmm. And in my experience, this is a challenge for women, because it has to do with setting great boundaries and being really clear about our priorities and not letting that sense of obligation or guilt sort of skew what we do. There is a resource at nancyjonker.com, www.nancyjonker.com, that talks about 3 tips for boosting resilience and confidence. And in those, what we talk about are the art of self-compassion, the practice of daily gratitude, and using power poses. And so probably right off the bat today, a free actionable step for people to take is to use power poses, which is any expansive pose that you take for 2 minutes. And what happens is you get an internal shift of your chemistry. So you boost the testosterone, the confidence hormone in the body, and the stress cortisol hormone is reduced. And if people want to play around with that, that's great fun, right? So you do like the victory pose, your arms up in the air in that Y, or you do the Wonder Woman pose, or you can do what I call the water cooler pose, where you've got one arm out and one arm on your hip, right? And you're taking up space. You can, of course, do this in a bathroom stall before something important. What we know about that is that it helps us be more of who we naturally are. And it just lets our authentic selves shine through. And then the opposite of that is if you take a very contracted pose and take up as little space as possible, and you can feel the difference, right? Because that actually increases cortisol in the body. And so before people have important meetings, before they have a conversation that they really want to be strong in and be able to really be themselves, those are great things to do. Take those power poses and really shift the chemistry.
So you mentioned a couple of resources I want to make sure that we emphasize here. So the name of your book is Get Your Power On. And where could people find that?
That book is actually on Amazon, and
Okay.
the author is Nancy Jonker. And the tricky part about Jonker is it's Jonker.
Got it. Okay. And then there are 3 tips on your website, which is nancyjonker.com.
That's right.
Very cool. And we'll have these displayed later for our readers to see. There's a question that I really like to ask at the end that comes out of this. My guests will be talking about this and they'll go, gee, I wish we had a question about this based on this conversation. So what is one question that I should have asked you that will help our audience to take an action to address this challenge for themselves?
Yeah, all right. So one of the things that I like to talk about a little bit is why audacious? Like, why is that the name of what I lead with my program? And it's Audacious Leaders M.O, which is modus operandi, which is really our way of being in the world, our signature style, if you will. And the reason I went with audacious is because what I hear from so many women and people in particular is that we need permission to be able to go after our goals, to be able to leave our comfort zone, to try new things, to risk when our tendency is maybe not to take risks. And so this whole concept of being audacious and being bold is coupled with a tagline that was developed in conversation with people who are in a mastermind with me. And it's actually audacious, gracious, and tenacious. And so it kind of defies people's expectations, right? It's like audacious makes it sound like you're going to go out and you're going to be all powerful and so on. But when you marry that with the graciousness and tenaciousness that often is required to pursue our goals and achieve them, and I think it speaks to this thing that when we're clear, when we have great boundaries, when we're confident about who we are, then we can show up with just really high levels of graciousness. And so that's what I would kind of leave with your listeners, this idea of how can you be more gracious, more audacious, and more tenacious.
Great, Nancy. Thank you. Thank you for that. And you shared some great stuff with us. And I want to recap that, quizleaders.com, to begin to explore this for yourself, and your book, which is available on Amazon, Get Your Power On. And then the 3 tips, which we can find on your website, nancyjonker.com. Nancy, thank you so much. I'm getting ready to go practice a power pose here, but thank you so much for spending some time with us.
You're very welcome, Sarah. It's a real privilege and fun.
Thanks for listening to the KTS Success Factor podcast for women. If you like what you are hearing, please go to iTunes to subscribe, rate us, and leave a review. And if you would like more information on how we can help women in your organization to thrive, then go to www.sarahebrown.com. You can sign up for our newsletter, read show notes and learn more about our podcast guests, read my blog, browse through the books, or contact us for a chat. Goodbye for now.